Well, in his final remarks to the APEC summit, US President Barack Obama offered his advice to his successor on avoiding conflicts of interest. Donald Trump, of course, has businesses in 18 countries, and President Obama and others are concerned about money and politics being mixed, as Andre-Pierre du Plessis reports.
While Donald Trump was meeting potential political appointees to decide who will help him run America, the president-elect also made time to meet 3 Indian businessmen. But unlike others, they were not being considered for cabinet positions. They were finalizing a new Trump-branded apartment block being built near Mumbai. The meeting shows that Trump has not fully cut himself off from his business ventures as he leads the presidential transition. It highlights the potential conflicts he faces if he doesn't separate himself from his brand. At least 111 companies in 18 countries have done business with Trump, according to an analysis of his financial filings. India has the most business ties, but there are also other countries with which the US maintains sensitive diplomatic ties. 2 companies in Turkey also have ties to the Trump organization. One of those companies pays Trump royalties of $5 million a year to use his name for a shopping center and apartment building. During a radio interview last year with Steve Bannon, who has since become his chief strategist, Trump was asked about US policy towards Turkey if he became president. He admitted that his business dealings in Istanbul pose a conflict of interest.
What do you do with Turkey? Is Turkey a reliable partner? I know they're a NATO ally. Are they a reliable partner?
Well, I have a little conflict of interest because I have a major building in Istanbul, and it's a tremendously successful job. It's called Trump Towers, 2 towers instead of 1. Not the usual 1, it's 2. And I've gotten to know Turkey very well, and they're amazing people. They're incredible people.
Trump's conflicts of interest will take the White House into uncharted territory, as little prevents the president-elect's political and business careers from bleeding into each other. Andre-Pierre du Plessis, TRT World.
Andre-Pierre joins me on set now. Let's just talk about the potential safeguards. Trump is talking about placing his businesses in a blind trust. That does sound very unlike Trump. Tell me, what does that entail, AP?
Yeah, so in January during a debate, Trump said he would do this. He would put all his earnings and all his companies in a blind trust, but that his children will still overlook his business interests. Now that contradicts itself, because what a blind trust is you literally have to sell, you have to liquidate all your financial interest, all your assets, and have an independent trust oversee that.
Right.
So obviously,
and his children wouldn't be independent, would they?
Exactly. So that's a point. So clearly, that's not something he's going to do. But what he can do is to change the perception that he's trying to address this problem. We are yet to see whether he would actually do that. You know, one of his options is he could appoint an independent CEO to look after his businesses, but it's highly unlikely.
I mean, look, if his children are going around managing his businesses and they turn up at foreign leaders' doorsteps or big companies, you know, guess what? They get to say, Daddy's the president, and they get preferential treatment. I guess we will see.
Well, yes, and so this is a role for the Department of Justice. They will have to be very strict in looking at how Trump goes about treating, especially these countries that I mentioned, where he has business interests. Because although federal law, kind of bars him from, or it doesn't bar him from continuing his businesses, he's not protected from any kind of bribery that takes place.
And so the ultimate sanction for a president, of course, is impeachment.
Impeachment.
You mentioned that he's kind of unique in his position as president in that there is no law as such about conflict of interest. Presumably other further down the line kind of officials and elected officials, they are governed by such
Yes.
laws.
So federal law says that any federal employee needs to sell any
like a Treasury Secretary or...
Exactly. But it prohibits the president because there's this theory that it could impede them from doing their job as president. It also applies to the vice president. But this is uncharted water. We've never had a president in the White House who has quite this big business interests.
I mean, by far, I think he is the most deeply involved in business. Andre-Pierre du Plessis, thank you so much for your contribution. Appreciate it.